There are several hard drive specifications you should know for the exam, and one of those is capacity. The capacity of a drive is the total amount of data that can be stored on that drive. Examples include 250 gigabytes, 500 gigabytes, 1 terabyte, 2 terabytes, 4 terabytes, and beyond. You want to be able to find out what the capacity of your drive is. And you can do that in two ways in Windows. First, we can go to File Explorer or Windows Explorer in older versions of Windows and go to this PC and you'll see your different volumes. That doesn't necessarily mean a drive because a drive can be broken up into separate partitions or volumes. But here's one, the G volume, which is a single drive. So we'll take a look at that by right-clicking on it and going to Properties. And then we'll see here the capacity, the total capacity for that drive. Gives you a big number, but it's essentially a 500 gig drive. There's a discrepancy there, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But you want to be able to take a look and find out the basic amount for the drive. This is considered to be a 500 gig drive. You also want to be able to read this little chart and see how much space is used and how much is free. Now, in a previous video, I mentioned I like to keep my drives 50% clear, and that's not always possible. As you can see here, I only have about 80 gigs left on this particular drive because I'm recording so many videos. But I will be clearing it out soon. And this is one of the reasons you go and check. So you can tell the used space is blue, about 400 gig, free space about 80 gig, and the total capacity for the drive. But you also want to be able to view this within disk management. And so if we bring up the run prompt to get to disk management, easy way to do it, go to run and type disk mgmt.msc. And that'll load up the disk management tool. And this way you can see the actual disks. You can see they're not really disks. These are all solid state drives, but you can see the actual drives as well as the individual volumes. See, for example, disk 0, this drive is broken up into multiple partitions. We've got the C drive, which is a C volume, I should say, which is 145 gig, and we've got the E volume, which is 86 gig, and then we have our recovery sections here, our recovery partitions. But that G volume that we saw, that's just inhabiting the entire drive, this other drive here, which is a M.2 drive. And that's what we have here. We've got a solid state SATA 3.0, and we've got a solid state M.2 right here. So you want to be able to view that information, see the total size of these drives here, and then break it down by the partition or volume. And you can see those volumes here as well and see the percentage free for each of these. So look at the C volume, only 20% free, and the G volume, only 17% free. So I've got some work to do there, and I've got a lot of backup to do, and backup stuff to my NAS box and to archival as well. So you want to be able to check those things within File Explorer and Disk Management. Now, hard drive manufacturers go by the base 10 numbering system, meaning that there are 1,000 bytes in 1 kilobyte. And here's the full name, kilobytes. 1 kilobyte, KB, has 1,000 bytes. And this is technically and mathematically correct. So if you look to purchase a drive, it'll say, hey, it's a 500 gigabyte drive, and you buy it. However, it's measured differently in Windows and other operating systems. Programmatically, and from an operating system standpoint, we use the base 2 system. And the name actually changes here. Instead of a kilobyte, what we're dealing with is a kibibyte. And that's KIB, where there is actually 1,024 bytes in this unit of measurement here, this kibibyte, which some people may still call kilobytes. And the image on the right shows an example of this. Even though it does use the base 2 system, Windows still refers to these as kilobytes, megabytes, and gigabytes. And so you get a discrepancy here. Instead of this showing up as 500 gig, it shows up as 476 gig, or you might see it as 465 gig. It depends. So that's a little phenomenon. You're not losing any space. It's just how Windows interprets it compared to what the hard drive calls it. Same amount of space, though. And I actually have a video that describes this phenomenon a bit further on my website, and this is the link for it. But for now, you should know how to find out the maximum capacity of a volume or a drive in Windows, for example, in File Explorer and in disk management, and be able to read and understand how much free space you have available. So a little bit about hard drive capacity.